Hey guys, welcome to the Whimsical Workshop. We are now on month 5 of our 6-part block of the month that we are doing with Studio E fabrics called Snippets. We are on the border blocks. We have done all the interior blocks in the past 4 months. We're going to jump right in, so let's get started. Alright, so I have everything cut and I have stepped out how to do the flip and sew again, just as a refresher course in case it's been, a couple months since you've done this. This is the green squares. The green squares are following the directions in the pattern, and the orange squares are my favorite ruler method that I have talked about throughout the project. So for a recap on those, I should have slid these the other way. Let's just do that really quick, like a 3-card Monty here. There we go. All right, so let's go over how the pattern tells you how to do it. And that is to take your smaller square, take a ruler with a 45-degree line if you have it. If not, just any ruler that you can go from corner to corner. And you're going to draw your line. And again, you're going to draw the line starting in the center and going out so you don't stretch your fabric. Okay? So it will look like this, and then you align the little square with the big square, and you're going to sew from point to point, which is this guy right here. He's all sewn point to point. You're going to then repeat that on the other side, and you'll get point to point. So then you go ahead and you clip away your back. You can either clip both layers away or just the center layer, and you end up with this piece. You have to press these two out before you add the next two. Now these two have been added and they're ready to be trimmed and flipped. And that will get us to our square and a square. And again, to recap, cutting out the centers, you can either take a ruler, lay it on your sewn line on the 1/4 inch line, and cut away, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That is one way to trim it out. The other is to just take a pair of scissors, eyeball your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and cut out the middle layer so that this flips up. And if it doesn't match, you could use this back square as your guide. In this case, that one matched up pretty good. So I prefer this method over this one because it adds bulk to my quilt, or this one does not. So that is the method I've used throughout the project. And that is how you do the ruler method, or the traditional method, which is explained in the pattern, which is there because we don't want you to have to buy a ruler to do the quilt. So that is that method. Let me move these out of our way. And now I'm going to go over the ruler method again. The ruler method, you take the smaller square and you use the folded corner clipper ruler, or a ruler like this. It has to have a 45-degree line and the 1/4 inch seam allowance built in. And you align the ruler with the little square. You're aligning the top of the square, the side of the square, the bottom, and this diagonal line. And you draw a line. And then you're going to see here you have a larger triangle and a smaller triangle. You're going to place it on the bigger square with the smaller triangle pointing out, just like that. And then you're going to go ahead, you will still sew from point to point, and your 1/4 inch foot will ride along this piece, this drawn line here. And yeah, I got a little wavy there. I'll fix that. You guys don't need to worry about that. Then again, you're going to go back to the same thing. You have two, one on either side. You'll press those open before adding the next two. Again, making sure the smaller triangle is pointed out. And that's what we got here. And then you're ready to trim out the back. Press these open, and you end up with your square and a square. So this is the third method on how to do flip and sew. This way we do not need to mark all our squares. As you can see, there's quite a few of these blocks we have to make this month because this is the pieced outer border on our quilt. How this works is you would tape this onto your sewing table. This is my sewing table. My arm of my sewing machine goes right here. This is where you would have your needle and everything. So just imagine my sewing machine right here. And this center line between the gray and the green is your needle line. The edge of the green is a 1/4 inch, which I have added a Qtool's sewing bumper. I will link all the tools below. These are both on our website. This side over here is a 1/4 inch to the left of your needle. And then these are 45-degree lines. Okay, so what you would do is you would not have to mark your squares. You would start with the smaller square on the needle line or right where your needle is, and then this corner of the square would be on your needle line. And you would just feed it through, and this edge should align with these 45-degree oops, as I go drunk on you guys. As you push this through the sewing machine, this would be being sewn. You can keep an eye on here, and I usually keep my eye right there, and you just sew it through, and you don't have to mark your squares. As I mentioned before, the ruler method is what I consider the most accurate method, with the traditional method and the pattern being a 2nd or 3rd, and this one in the traditional method, they're pretty even in how accurate you're going to be. And again, it just affects when you flip this out how much background fabric may be showing. As long as it's less than 1/8 of an inch, you are going to be sewing it into a 1/4 inch seam, so it's really not that big of a deal, but some people that really bothers them to flip it out and not have it. And also, if this is off a lot, you aren't going to get your 1/4 inch space at the points of each of your squares. So the more accurate you can be, the nicer your block will look at the end. But sometimes you can compare, do I want to sit and mark 240 of these with a ruler, or do I want to run them through here? The more you use this, the better you get, the more accurate you will be. But it does make life a lot easier when you have a lot of these to sew. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and finish these using my clearly perfect angle and not marking the squares, and I will get them all sewn up and I will share them with you at the end. So I'll be back. Whew, that was a lot of sewing. We have all of our blocks done for month 5. This is going to become block 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I label these before we move on to month 6. So next month I remember which is which block, because they are identified in the next pattern by their block number, not their fabric number. So let's see here. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oh, 13. Look at that. Perfect row. So now when I go to do the borders in month 6, these will be labeled and much easier to put those borders together. So let me get these all labeled. I love these little stickers. You can buy them at any stationery store. I bought a box of, I don't know, 10,000 of them, and they last forever, but I label all of my projects with them, and they are super handy to have just like over here on the shelf to just pull up when I need them. So there we go. Those are all our blocks for month 5. So now that we have all our blocks put together, we are going to start assembling our quilt in the next month. So make sure you have all of them put together for next month. It is a lot of sewing up to this point, but we are in the home stretch. I hope you'll join us for month 6. As always, leave me a comment below if you have any questions or comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell to be notified every time we drop a video, and I thank you for watching.